Hey guys, we're back with some more Star Wars 3.75-inch figures. We've got, I guess this is Wave 2 at this point. We've got R2-D2, Jedi, Exile, Jedi Hobo, Luke. He looks like a homeless man. We've got Island Journey Rey, and DJ, the Canto Bite version, so I guess he has a costume change at some point. I didn't get Jin. She was up on Hasbro Toy Shop, but I only got one, and I was trying to get two, but something wonky happened, so I gave the one to a friend because I don't care that much. And then Leia was not available, so I missed out on her. These are the same card backs we saw with Wave 1. I absolutely hate these. I love the artwork on them. The artwork is really good. I really like it. I think it's solid artwork. I just hate that there's no cross sell except for Force Link stuff, and I don't do Force Link. And then they're just so flimsy. You know, the DJ card here was all jacked up in the box because Hasbro decided to just throw them all in a box and ship them to me. But they're going in the trash no matter what, so let's crack these out and take a look. Alright, so here are the figures out of their packaging, and for the most part, I'm pretty happy with these. If you caught my videos for the Wave 1s, the orange and the teal assortments, you know that for the most part I'm pretty happy with these so far, so much so that I took them out. Normally I haven't been taking out 3.75-inch figures. I just haven't cared enough to, but these, and the fact that I want to do videos on them, kind of make me want to take them out. So we're going to look at them all individually and do maybe a quick comparison on Rey, because, you know, I was under the impression she might have been a repack. She's not, but we'll get to that. So we're going to move these aside, and we're going to start with R2 here. So this guy is probably my favorite of the bunch. He is a reuse of parts from some Build-A-Droid issues of figures from previous instances, and while I can't speak to exactly which ones they are, I just know that this is of a bit of a higher caliber figure than you might be used to for R2. He's got a lot going on. He's still an astromech droid, so you know what to expect, but there is some decent stuff going on here. He obviously, you know, for one of the interesting things, he has the rocket jets out and in use, which we've never seen that happen outside, well, as far as the movies go, outside of the prequel trilogy. So does that mean he's going to show off his rockets? Is that how he jumps from island to island on ach-to? Only time will tell. Who knows? But I think it's interesting, and I do like them. They pop off. They just sit on the frames of the legs, and they pop off, and they have the nice translucent painted plastic, so it goes from kind of blue to orange. The legs are articulated, so you can move them all around. You can obviously take these off if you want. The middle leg is also articulated to a degree. It has a bit of a hinge on it, so you can kind of move it around a little bit and then have him roll on. The legs are all on rollers. The head is articulated as well, so you can spin it all the way around. And then in general, I think his size and proportions are pretty well done. So here he is next to another figure. We'll just use DJ as comparison. He is, I think, as far as scale goes, pretty decent. I'm not upset in terms of his height and bulk compared to any other figure. I think he looks good. I'm very pleased with this R2. I like him. There's a lot of sculpt, a lot of detail work, a lot of paint going on here for just a little astromech droid, but where it's applied is very clean. A lot of sculpted line work all over the can, all over the head. Just a lot of work here. And, you know, it's an astromech droid. What more can you really say? But he is probably the standout figure for me just because he is a solid all-around droid. Let's pull a new guy in here. We have got DJ here, and like I said, the package says that this is specifically the Canto Bite version, so obviously that assumes that he is going to change costumes at some point in the movie. So he looks, you know, kind of scoundrelly, kind of, you know, seedy, kind of an underworld type character. We don't know a ton about him. I think it is a pretty decent looking figure. There's not a whole lot to talk about here. He's got a rubbery jacket on, which you could remove. You'd have to pop the arms off. The legs are articulated, the arms are articulated, and the head. So we've got a standard 5 POA figure here. He comes with this unique type of blaster. I don't think I've seen one like this anytime recently. It's just gray plastic. He does have a holster on his leg here, but this thing really doesn't fit in there, and it also can't go all the way through the bottom because there's no hole. So, I mean, he could, you know, sort of pop it in, but it's really not. It really doesn't fit, and the jacket really gets in the way. So it's almost impossible to put it in there. I'm never going to try. I'm not going to do it. It just sort of sits in his hand, and he can look dark and brooding. Head sculpt's pretty decent. I'm okay with it overall. It's nothing too exciting, but it's pretty decent for a 5 POA, 3.75 inch figure. And overall, this sculpt looks pretty good. There's a lot of wrinkles, a lot of sculpted detail in the fabric. I like the jacket. It hangs well. It's pliable enough that it doesn't get in the way, except if you try to use that holster. And then it's got this nice metallic gold paint all over it, which I'm a pretty big fan of that design in general. So he is more or less, until we know more about him, he's pretty much just a basic guy, basic figure. But he's halfway decently executed, so I'm all right with him. Next up, we have got the man himself. We've got Luke Skywalker here, the Jedi Exile version. So he has a removable hood. You'd have to pop the head off to remove it, though, but you can kind of pull it back a little bit. And as best I can tell, if anybody knows different, let me know. I think that this is a different head sculpt. The hair for sure is different than the normal Luke we got in Wave 1. This is the standard Jedi Master. It also has a different paint scheme on the face for the hair, for the facial hair. So I think it is different. It looked different to me anyway. And then, of course, we've got this new kind of Jedi hobo-style outfit that he's got on here. And for the most part, I think it's sculpted pretty well. There's a lot of texture in the shirt, in the weave of the shirt. The jacket is just like DJ. It is a pliable, rubbery jacket, and you could take it off if you wanted, but there's no real reason, because then the sleeves are going to look weird, because the sleeves on the arms match the jacket. He's got a gloved hand, and we've got his new walking stick here, which looks a little different than I thought it was. I thought it was a piece of wood, but apparently it is metal, or at least it looks like it is here. This looks like to be a little piece of fabric on it. I'm not sure which direction it needs to go. This has to be the way, the up, though. I don't know. Probably. Maybe. Maybe not. And it's sculpted really well. There's nothing too much to say about it. It's a rod. It's got some detail on it. But for the most part, I like this Luke. I have been pretty pleased with the 5 POA Luke so far. This is no different. I like him. I still like the Jedi Master look better. Until we really know what's going on with him at this point in the movie, I have to kind of reserve judgment for what he is. Once I know what's going on, I'll kind of feel a little more, yay or nay about it. And then lastly, we have got Rey, Island Journey, Island Adventure, Island Happy Fun Time, whatever the hell it's called. This figure is interesting. So she obviously has this goofy poncho on, and it is removable. Pop the head off is probably the easiest way, and then you can take it off. And underneath you have her in her resistance gear. And obviously she comes with a lightsaber, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So here, real quick while we're doing this, because I've got it, here is the Force Awakens version of this figure, and I don't have this open. I have one open, I'm just not sure where it is right now. So these are definitely different figures. I thought they might be a reuse, but they are not. The sculpt is very much the same on a lot of it, but it's not 100% the same, and there are some differences. So she actually has more articulation in the Last Jedi version, and then the head sculpt is slightly different, and the paint scheme is entirely different too. You can see that this is a more tan color, and this is more on the gray side of things in that regard. But they are very similar still, but the head sculpts and the faces are very, very much different. So I said she does have more articulation. She has an elbow swivel. It's not really a point of articulation in terms of like a joint, but it does swivel. So she can swivel her head, swivel her arms, her legs, and then she can rotate at the elbow. I'm assuming that's to get around some of the restrictive nature of the poncho type thing that she's got. And this thing, while the design itself isn't bad, it's just so big and bulky. She just looks really goofy with it on, I think. I don't particularly like it. So your mileage may vary on that. She's got her holster for her gun, and this is one of those where the gun is indifferent. So sometimes, depending on the holster, the gun will go in backwards or forwards, and this is the one where it has to go in backwards because the holes in it are different sizes. So the actual barrel fits in the back instead of the front. Head sculpt is pretty good. I've got a little bit of a splotch of paint on mine in terms of just the face paint, but it's okay. I don't know that I like it any better or worse than any of the others, but it is slightly different in a general sense. So, there is that. They kind of keep changing things around. And then we've got the lightsaber, which is kind of weird because it doesn't really fit very well in either hand. I cannot get it to go in her right hand almost at all. Like, it sits in, but it wants to pop right out because the hand is so so tightly gripped. And the left hand is a little bit looser, but it almost does the same thing. So I'll have to work on that a bit. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me. I don't think it is because, you know, I didn't sculpt these hands. But as you can see, I'm obviously having a bit of a tough time putting those in. But overall, I like the underlying figure. But when you put this thing on, and you can put it back on without taking her head off, something about it looks weird. She looks a little like Unkar Plutt in this thing to me. Just a little too fat to be Rey. And I just think it's because the material they used is probably a little bit on the thick side. So at the end of the day, I think this is, at least for the figures I got, a pretty decent wave. R2's good, Luke is good, DJ's okay, and Rey is okay. I'm not going to say that Rey is great or anything. There's definitely better Rey figures than this one, but she's not a bad figure either, especially if you take that poncho off. R2 is the standout figure for me. I think it's a solid sculpt, solid build, solid paint. I like the fact that we see a little bit into maybe him using his jump jets again for the first time in a long time. And then Luke is a solid looking figure, even though I don't have any attachment to this particular outfit yet. I'm looking forward to getting a hold of Leia in particular, and then I'll get a hold of Jyn as well, and we'll do a video on them once I get access to them. So for now, that is it for this look at part of Wave 2 for The Last Jedi 3 3/4 inch figures from Hasbro. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time, guys.